Howdy folks, welcome back to Black Sheep Meadow. I'm Brent.
And I'm Amber.
And we got a good one for you today.
Got a busy one.
So we've had a lot of stuff going on here in the homestead. It's been a very busy past couple of weeks.
Right. The weather has not been very conducive of doing a lot of outdoor projects or filming YouTube videos. So you haven't seen us for a minute.
Yep. And if y'all remember last year at this time, we had like several weeks of really good weather where it wasn't raining. It was actually decent temperatures outside. This year, it seems like we've had an extreme amount of rain. We had 14 inches just last week.
Right. So it's kind of made things a little bit, we feel like we're a little behind.
Correct.
But we're really not. So we're just not ahead.
A lot of things are going for the better, I guess. There's a lot of projects that we started and finished last year, so we don't have to redo them again this year.
Which is really nice to have some of those big things done that we don't have to worry about this year.
Correct. So we've got 30 chickens coming in roughly 4 weeks now.
Yes.
And I've got to get a second chicken tractor built, and I've got to get another brooder box built because we're changing up our strategy on how we raise those chickens.
We've said before we were doing 3 batches of meat chickens in smaller numbers. This year we're going to do just 2 batches of meat chickens. So we don't feel comfortable having that amount of chickens in one of our chicken tractors. So the chicken tractors definitely needed a second one so we can move 2 of them. It'll keep them, I think, healthier, happier chickens, and we'll be able to be more efficient, I think.
Correct. And we're going to split those chickens up. We're going to keep the smaller. After the 2 to 3 weeks in the brooder box, we're going to be able to tell what is the larger chickens versus the smaller. We're going to keep the larger chickens in one chicken tractor, the smaller chickens in a different chicken tractor, and we may even split the butchering process up by a week or so to let the smaller ones get a little larger.
Right. And so the same thing applies with the brooder box. Although they could probably all fit in our brooder box, we want to have that second one to where if they're not quite ready to go into the tractor, they can stay in the brooder boxes and they're not so overcrowded, because that overcrowding is what leads to disease, and we just don't want any of that. It's just very not healthy, inhumane. So having a second one is better.
In other good news, 246 days in the making, we have our first turkey egg.
We have our first turkey egg.
And I kind of had a feeling that was coming because they got awfully noisy here in the past few weeks.
They have. They've gotten very, very vocal. They're very, very inquisitive little creatures. You go in there and they're very interested in what you have, what you're doing. They're not aggressive.
No, but they don't mind the turkey hens, the black Spanish and the bourbon reds that we have. They are very comfortable being right next to you. They just want to come snuggle up, like literally almost brush up next to you like a dog would.
So they're very talkative. You go in there and you can start talking to them. I go in there and say, "Hey girls," and they'll just start talking up a storm. So they're pretty cool to have around.
So what do we got? We got actually some from the weather that we had this past week, actually 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago.
We were down, I think, to 14 degrees for our lowest temperature for we were below freezing for, I think we got a high of 25 degrees for one 24-hour period, but it stayed below freezing for quite some time.
And we made out really, really well. We didn't have a bunch of major issues to battle. No power outages, no anything like that. We had one
busted pipe on the rainwater collection for the turkey coop, which was not a big deal.
Which we kind of expected.
Correct.
We were hoping for the best, but we didn't really want to drain all the rainwater if we didn't have to. So
it came out well though.
Right.
But
in fixing that, you kind of modified it to where we might not have that problem again.
Correct. I actually, there was a ball valve on the edge of the tank, which actually had about 2 to 3 inches off the side of the tank. And that ball valve is ultimately what failed. So the new valve that I got is a metal valve, not saying that the metal won't fail, but the metal valve is actually on the wall of the tank. And because the tank is so large in volume, it takes a lot longer for that water to freeze. So therefore it's going to be, it might take 2 to 3 days below freezing weather before that part actually freezes again. So.
And in our part of the world, we just don't see it that often, so this should help us in the long run.
That being said, we lost a lot of winter vegetables.
We did.
We had some cabbage left over, some broccoli. Now, we didn't lose everything.
No, I was going to say we didn't lose everything.
But we lost quite a bit. We lost our romaine lettuce, even though it was inside of our cold frame box, which if y'all haven't seen, we got a cold frame box video out there where Amber built. And I mean,
we lost that. We lost mustard greens.
Correct. All the mustard greens failed.
Only a few cabbage plants and a few of the broccoli plants. We lost those, but the rest of them are still doing just fine. So that's good.
But we've got a lot of leafy greens. We're going to kickstart a compost pile here in a little bit. Once again, I'm going to be running short on compost big time. Seems like that's a problem every year.
Every year. I don't think you can get quite enough compost if you're gardening on a large scale. Compost tends to be the thing that everybody is looking for, or you need.
So for us, today is actually the last day of January. For y'all are probably going to witness this video maybe the first week of February or so. It's going to be like the 3rd or 4th, something like that.
Somewhere around
But
there.
I see a lot of people already talking about, hey, we need to get, when can we start our spring crops? You know, they're wanting to plant potatoes already. Well, we're going to do that. We usually do potatoes on President's Day, which is February 20th or 19th this year, I believe. But we're going to get them mid-February. We're going to start those things. All of our other crops, it's going to be probably March. You know, we've got some cold weather predicted again here in the next couple of weeks.
And that's regarding the outdoor plants. We have already started some tomato plants and pepper plants indoors, which we could do while it was raining and everything else.
Yeah,
So.
but it's still going to be a few weeks. So y'all just, I think maybe out of all of our viewers that I know of, I think Wayne is probably the only one out there in Florida that can maybe start putting some stuff in the ground.
I think he's already in spring, and I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, so we'll get there. I guess in the meantime, let's go get this compost started, huh?
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we're out here in my land of various compost piles at different stages, and I'm a lazy composter. I actually let these compost piles go off all winter without even tending to them at all. So we need to kickstart them, get some fresh oxygen, some fresh nitrogen material. This particular pile that we're going to kickstart today has a lot of carbon material in it. And once again, I mentioned that we lost a lot of our plants in the cold weather last week, which there's a lot of leafy greens. There's a lot of nitrogen in this. So Amber and myself are going to get this pile split apart, and then we're going to layer it back, carbon material, leafy greens, carbon material, leafy greens. And then we're going to get a thermometer in it, and hopefully we can get some compost maybe for this fall crop out of this compost pile here. So we're going to put y'all on a time lapse. Y'all hang out for a minute. All right, so we made pretty quick work of that compost pile today.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long to do it.
That pile had, first off, you can see the drastic difference in color from what we started with. A lot of the internals are now on the outside is now on the inside. We added all the leafy greens. There is plenty of moisture in this pile from the rains that we've had this past week. Yeah. So there was no problems there. But we got a thermometer put in it. We're going to monitor the temperature. I'm going to see if I can't get the bugs and little organisms in this pile to start working. And we'll be able to witness that via the temperature of the center of the pile. And just maybe we'll have some decent compost for the garden this fall, rather.
We will. It just it's just how fast it'll happen. It'll make compost. It's just how fast.
But we are ready. So if y'all are ready for the spring crops, you know, leave a comment down below. Let's get this homesteaded thing kicked off for the year again.
Yeah.
You know.
It's time to start new.
Yep.
We're reorganizing some of our garden and where things were planted and removing some of that around. And so that's something we've been doing too, or trying to do in between the weather breaks. A lot at night.
So for us, it's just going to be a few more weeks, and it's going to be full steam ahead.
Yep.
And we're going to make it happen again this year. Yes. So if y'all got any questions or comments, leave them down below. As I always say, you know, please get off the system, become more self-sufficient, more self-sustainable.
Become ungovernable.
Yes. We'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.